As we gather on this fourth Sunday of Advent, we are just days away from Christmas now. In just 5 short days, we will begin our Christmas liturgies, and a peace and a quiet will descend on our world, and at least for a very brief time, we will contemplate God's grand design for the world. You know, one of the most important and most difficult questions we struggle with as human beings is the question of meaning. Does life have meaning, over and above the meaning that we ourselves place on it? Are we random players in a blind universe where everything happens by chance? Or is there a divine blueprint, a plan for our life to unfold? The scriptures today tell us that there is a plan, and that slowly and purposely in God's time, that plan unfolds. Micah is the prophet of the grand design. He announces in today's first reading, 750 years before the birth of Jesus, that God has plans, great plans for an obscure little town called Bethlehem. And these plans will have wonderful implications even to the very ends of the earth. The author of the letter to the Hebrews believes in a grand design as he encourages us to participate in those plans by submitting to God's good and holy will for us, as Jesus did. Elizabeth exalts Mary in Luke's gospel, proclaiming that Mary is blessed among all women precisely because she believed and said yes to God's plan, his mysterious plan for her life. The scriptures on this fourth Sunday of Advent not only suggest that God has a plan, but affirm that this plan is a wonderful plan. You know, sometimes it's easy to believe in this grand design. We fall in love and we know that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We look into a beautiful sunset, or we marvel at the dazzling array of stars in the sky, and we contemplate our place in the universe. We stand at the ocean shore, and as wave after wave breaks, and the immensity and the order and the power of it all overwhelms us. We witness the birth of a child, and in the miracle of new life, we know that something infinitely good is at work. There are times in life when we are simply overtaken by the grand design. But there are other times when it's not so easy to believe in the grand design. There are times when trusting that there is a grand design is hard. An infant dies unexpectedly. An explosion is purposely orchestrated and innocent people die. People perish in floods and tornadoes. People are shot and killed on our streets. Planes crash and good people die. Life can be so filled with confusion and problems that all we see and feel at times is chaos. And yet we are assured in today's scriptures that there is a grand design. And our problem, I think, with our struggle for meaning is that most of the time we don't want to accept the big picture in its entirety. I know that's my case. Sometimes I only want to accept that part of the design that I can readily understand now. Once we lose sight of the big picture, though, we lose everything. And I think we live in an age in which we are very much in danger of losing sight of the big picture. We live so much for the present moment that if something doesn't make sense here and now, we discount it. And as we listen to today's scriptures, we're reminded that not all of history unfolds in a single instant. Not all of the big picture is revealed at once. This is true for human history and the grand design, and for our own place in that history. Bethlehem was truly the least among the towns of Judah, and Micah foretells that from that forgotten, discounted village would come the ruler of the nations. Mary is with child. She can't understand it any better than Joseph or her parents Anna and Joachim. She only knows through the message of an angel that the child she carries, the child who makes John the Baptist dance for joy in his mother's womb, is part of God's grand design. And as the events of her life unfold so differently from what she had planned, she makes an act of trust in God's grand design. And because of that trust, Elizabeth rightly proclaims that she is blessed among women. And as the final hours of Advent pass and the mad rush toward Christmas will end, and at least for one day, we will allow ourselves to contemplate the grand design of things. For at least one day, we will allow ourselves to be part of something much bigger than our personal now. And in this annual surrender to God's grand design, a peace will fall upon our world and upon our homes. The message of Christmas is that God has a plan, and that the plan that has been slowly unfolding through the centuries is now revealed in the birth, the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. God's great plan is to touch all of creation to the life of Jesus, and in that contact that will one day be complete, there will be peace, and Christmas heralds that day. In these final hours of Advent, let us prepare ourselves once again this year to stand in awe before a humble stable and contemplate the grand design. There is a grand design, and that grand design continues to unfold. For God so loved the world that in the fullness of time he sent his only Son, that whoever believes in him might have life eternal.